Hi everybody, welcome to a new all of the above budget movie review. And I just finished the second trilogy, the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. And I wanted to do it when it was still fresh in my mind. Um, yeah, well, as you might have all known, I am a big Star Wars fan. And as I told in the last one, original trilogy, I was, well, from young man on a fan. Um, I saw Return of the Jedi in the cinema because my mom liked the Ewoks, and the rest of the movies I saw on VHS. Um, and then in 1997, they all came out in the cinema. So they were the special editions. So I watched all three of the original trilogy in the cinema. Uh, Second time that I saw Return of the Jedi in the cinema. Um, and of course, the special editions were the polished versions with the new Java inserted and everything. And it had some new, songs and things and effects. Um, so, yeah. But by the time it came around for to do a new trilogy. Um, George Lucas did this one again, and it was the prequel trilogy. So the story how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. My son loves it when I do that. Sorry. And of course, the prequel trilogy started off with the Phantom Menace. And the Phantom Menace is, well, start of it all. And it's made for younger people. I think they were still trying to get their footing, their feelings for how they wanted to do it. But because the actor playing Anakin was still a young boy, um, I think they went that route too. We had Darth Maul, first Sith we seen in action. We see a lot more Jedi in this first installment of this new trilogy. And yeah, we get a lot of action, we get a lot of humor, a bit too much humor, and it's a bit too watered down. Um, there's a lot of digital effects because all three movies were done digitally. They were filmed digital. It was a new way of filming back then, so Lucas did all four of them. We have Yoda as a little younger, of course, and a little. We had Samuel L. Jackson, who played Mace Windu, another Jedi Master, and we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, and Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. Um, and we get to see how Darth Sidious eventually becomes Emperor Palpatine and Senator Palpatine. We also some of the things in the movies you already know what's going to happen. You see Chancellor Palpatine, well, he's going to be the Emperor. So you see little Anakin and you say, how can that little boy be Darth Vader? And he will be. Um, so you delve into the history of that Star Wars. We get the irritated Jar Jar Binks, of course. We get to meet C3PO. We get to meet R2D2. We find out C3PO was built by Anakin. So C3PO is Vader's droid. cool. Um, so yeah, it starts off and it kicks off. And we I forgot one. We got Padme Amidala, who was played by Natalie Portman, and she played Amidala through all three movies. Just like Ewan McGregor played Obi-Wan through all three movies, Frank Oz did Yoda. Mace Windu was also played by Samuel L. Jackson in all three movies. But I'm digressing. Um, and of course, a trilogy cannot be complete without a second part, Attack of the Clones. In Attack of the Clones, we find out more about the plan that Sidious has for the Jedi. We see more Jedi action, we see more lightsabers, we see an older Anakin Skywalker, played by. Now I'm curious, I forgot his name. Hayden Christensen, yes. Who also played in the TV series Obi-Wan Kenobi, who, with Ewan McGregor, of course, the Disney Plus series. But I'm not doing the series, but just the Obi-Wan series is kind of a sequel to this trilogy, so it fits in. So, yeah. Attack of the Clones. We see the clone army. We see the start of the stormtroopers. We see Christoph. I'm bad with names sometimes. But he also played in Lord of the Rings. Christopher Lee. Yes, sorry. We see Christopher Lee play Count Dooku. Yeah, and the second one has more action. It has more grounded story. It's more like a detective in some parts. There, yeah, and it also has some very cool effects. We get to see more of the world of Star Wars, in which we heard a lot about in the first trilogy. We see a lot more in the second one, the prequel trilogy. Like, yeah, like Naboo. Well, we never visited Naboo. Um, uh, Coruscant, of course. That was named a few times, and that's one of the biggest cities in the Star Wars, yeah, series. So yeah, I liked the second one, and it really got to know Anakin. We got to know Obi-Wan Kenobi even more. And the thing I found, Kenobi has a beard in this one, Ewan McGregor, and it looks fake. I don't know if anybody noticed, but it looked like a stick-on beard, like a fake beard, in some scenes, at least. But okay, we can look past that. But to end a trilogy, of course, you need a third act. And this third act is Revenge of the Sith. And Revenge of the Sith, yeah, the title Revenge of was also almost used for Revenge of the Jedi. And it was turned into Return of the Jedi, because Jedi never take revenge. That's a good one. And the Sith do. It's the one of the darkest in the trilogy. We see how Anakin becomes Darth Vader. We see how everybody ends up at the places they are when A New Hope starts and when Empire Strikes Back goes. So we see how the Emperor comes to power. We see how Padme eventually dies. How the Luke and Leia are born. how Anakin is turned to the dark side. Um, yeah, we see how Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, sorry, ended up on Tatooine. We see Tatooine a lot more in the prequel trilogy because it started off. Anakin came from Tatooine. Luke grew up on Tatooine, and that's nice. So it's a Skywalker planet. But in all three movies, we see C-3PO and R2-D2, all both played by the actors who played them in the original trilogy. So yeah, it was fun to see. We see in the third movie we see Chewbacca for the first time in a planet full of Wookiees. So yeah, we see the clone troopers who come back in the Clone Trooper TV series, the animated series, the Bad Batch. Um, but we also see there was something before Revenge of the Sith came out, and it was Clone Trooper, Clone no, not Clone Wars, and it was a series of short animated cartoons surrounding the Clone Wars. It was done in a very, yeah, not so. I didn't like the style of, but it ended where Revenge of the Sith started. So that's why I wanted to put it in there. And it's not the same as Clone Wars, the animated series that came later. Uh, which also played before Revenge of the Sith, of course, because we saw the Clone Wars that were only talked about in A New Hope. So it was fun to see that trilogy and to know, well, how things came to be. We also knew we also know what was going to happen most of the times because well, Anakin is going to go to the dark side. The Jedi are going to get killed, all of them. Yoda's going to Dagobah. Uh, Obi-Wan Kenobi goes to Tatooine. And Organa, well, Bail Organa, we see Bail Organa, the man who's going to be the foster parent for the adopted parent, I don't know what you want to call it, for Leia, of course. And we only hear him mentioned in the original trilogy, of course, because their planet blew up. So yeah, I like this trilogy. It had a slow start, but it ended on a big bang. And for me, it was done. Because at the end of Return of the Jedi, the story was done. I was reading the books. There were books in the expanded universe coming out, and what I read them. It took me to where it all was going. But there came another trilogy, and that's a story for later. Because George Lucas sold the rights to Disney, and Disney thought, hey, let's do a new trilogy. So I still have to watch the trilogy to do this one again. So after I watch the last trilogy, the sequel trilogy, I'll come back to you. But for now, I want to say thank you for watching. And if you want to like this video, like it. And if you want to subscribe, you can do that too. Leave a comment in the likes. And thank you again for watching, and see you all next time. Bye.